brief break there and take care of some stuff and adult a little bit, but it's all good now. So we have our stickers on, and that was important to me to get those right at first. Maybe not 100% perfect, but good enough, I think, for what we're doing here. So I think those turned out pretty decently. This one turned out really well too. So I think that part's ready. So we don't have to stress about that when we eventually get to it. All right. So first part of this bag, I believe this is 8, bag number 8. And the first part of this bag, we're going to be just adding on, I think really just finishing this up and building another level on top of it. It's going to require kind of a different perspective for the camera. So I thought that was a pretty good breaking point earlier. Let's see what we can do here. Okay, this will at least get you kind of a better view of what's going on. And you know, and then it's kind of bad because you have the other part of the Daily Bugle that kind of just hangs out back there, and it kind of shoves this forward. So let's go for it. All right. And let me get to the right page in the instructions. Okay, we're ready to roll. So earlier I built the black cat minifig, but what I didn't realize at the time is that she needed a little diamond. And I guess she is stealing this. So, you know, it's funny. I guess the black cat was introduced in what, the late 70s, early 80s. And the black cat has always just been its own thing to me because has been a part of, you know, the Spider-Man mythos since I was a kid, and I just never questioned it. But I mean, I know that it is not the same thing, but wouldn't it have just seemed so much like so derivative of Catwoman at the time? Like, maybe it wouldn't have. I don't know. I'd be curious to hear from somebody who was around when they introduced that in the comics and what the general feeling was. To me, that would have been, to me, the only conversation. Would have been just how much like Catwoman it was. But maybe people didn't feel that way. Maybe they felt it was a fresh take. But I mean, is it really? Not from where I'm standing. It doesn't seem like it is. Have like a female counterpart to the hero who is kind of outside the law, but the hero thinks that she could be redeemed, and she's a cat thief, cat burglar, whatever you want to say, and dresses like a cat, has cat in the name. Hero is sort of in love with her. I do think that the writers did find some clever things to do with the black cat that had not been done with Catwoman. Well, for one, I have to compliment that the design feels very unique, even though they are both catsuit characters. It doesn't feel like it's completely derivative visually. That's not it. It's just the concept feels derivative. And I guarantee you that, well, I can't guarantee, but I have a strong feeling that at that time in the comics, probably the Black Cat was more interesting to read than Catwoman was. It was not, there isn't a whole lot of famous Catwoman stories in that era. So I suppose they had that going for them. And maybe they saw it as an intentional way to try to one-up what DC was doing or not doing, I suppose, is more appropriate with Catwoman at the time. Maybe they just wanted to, maybe they saw potential there. They wanted to try their hand, perhaps. There's a couple of different things that distinguishes the Black Cat. The fact that she does have superpowers, I suppose that is one way to distinguish. Having to count studs over here. Usually I have to look in a mirror to do that. It's like those awful dad jokes that are the stud finder jokes anytime you're going to hang something on a wall. Well, we found one. Oh. Build a Lego set, they said. It would be easy, they said. $18 plus. Turns out that wasn't just on the box for fun. Just on there for giggles. Lego sitting around in their gold offices, laughing at all the little kids that buy this set. Can't figure out how to put it together. Dad ends up putting it together. Maybe that'll be me someday. Of course, I'll secretly be like son or daughter. You know, you don't really know how to put that together. You let Dad put it together. He knows. He's been around. He's seen Lego sets. He doesn't want you to have to work hard like he did. Dad's trying to give you a better life by taking your toy for himself. There we go. You know, that's one thing I'll say is there's so much structural integrity with this. And it's funny that I'm using the term structural integrity having to do with a Lego set, but really it's totally appropriate to use that term because the way that this is being constructed is like a vertical kind of skyscraper is so much more secure, and the building methods being utilized here are so much better than those that were utilized in the Ghostbusters firehouse. There was times when I was putting that together, I was having to ask myself, is this going to hold together? And I feel like they've improved dramatically. It's like there's definitely been a leap in thinking about, because you have to consider this. When you really think about it, think about the kinds of sets that have come out in, since the time of the Ghostbusters firehouse. And really, we wouldn't have thought it at the time, but that was just the dawn of kind of the adult, direct-to-consumer, gigantic building from Lego. That was kind of the, it and the Simpsons house and haunted house. I mean, it's really amazing when you think about it. The journey. And since then, I think a lot of those lessons from those structures have come forward into this. It all leads to this. I don't know if it all leads to this, but Lego Space led to this. Blacktron led to this. Mtron led to this. Heist Planet 2002 led to this. In those days, it was just a dream of Lego designers to do the Daily Bugle, but here we are. Is this like the Lego version of Moses seeing being told by God that he would never see the promised land? Or he would only see it from far off. Poor Moses. That was a very sad part of the story, Children of Israel. That's right. Sometimes when you're on bag number 8 of a gigantic Lego set, you start to talk about biblical history. Didn't see that one coming. The algorithm will now flag this video as religious propaganda. I ask YouTube, why? Why did you do this? And they'll say, well, you were teaching Sunday school while you were building this set. We had several complaints. Shame on you. Shame on you. Must be getting old. Feeling a lot better. Putting this set together early and on a day where I've not gone into work. It's made a world of difference for how I feel putting this thing together. Kind of makes me wonder if I'm doing it wrong when I attempt to build these things after being at work all day. And I think with that level of stress and that level of exhaustion, it's almost like you can't really enjoy the experience of building the set. Maybe that's something I should keep in mind in the future. All right. I believe we're building the kind of modular cradle right here for where things can come apart. Usually when you start seeing those flat pieces and with just maybe a couple studs, those are your connection points, usually when that happens. All right, we'll go back down to ground level a little bit. And now we're gonna be putting those support pieces, which is kind of a running theme of this set, on the Octopus Tentacles here. And I'm consistently shocked by how hard it is to make these adhere. I don't know why it's so difficult. There we go. Honestly, I think it's because there's a little bit of, like a tiny little bit, because these are all separate pieces. They're turned ever so slightly differently. And because of that, causes it to not go. See, that one went on just fine. So I think it depends on how well aligned all of those are. Hear that? Sounds like a zipper. I suppose it technically is performing the same sort of function. All right, moving on to the back. This did not get pressed in back here. I didn't even know because I couldn't see it. Huh. Okay. See, that's how accidents happen. Reminds me of that awful line from the very first Rambo movie, First Blood. Keep your eyes on the road, that's how accidents happen. Just alone. I think his set is the worst line in the movie. He wishes he could take it out. There we go. Stay. These are a great little cheat. I mean, they're not a cheat necessarily. They're just, those tracks. Usually used for like gimmicks and things, like something to like ride along right there. But they're a great cheat in a way to get a whole lot of vertical geometry, and smaller vertical geometry than you would think you could get. And it does it very quickly too. It's like just joins right here at all these points. I think that was a great call by the designers, actually, to put these all around, because it gives it that little extra something where it doesn't just feel like a vertical cube. just working its way up. It gives it a little bit of extra pizzazz, that design aesthetic that an architect might apply. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, that was all I needed for that step. Moving on. Looks like I'm doing more work on the top, so it's funny that I'm having to switch angles so often here, but it's the only way without me just putting together something you can't even see. There we go, bird's eye view. Okay, got 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Okay, looks good. We have little 1x1 studs we're going to use to separate those. So let me find them. Must all be pooled together somewhere. That's what the set needed, right? Deadpool. You know, it's funny to think back to a time when Lego was just kind of... Deadpool was in Lego sets, you know? I think people forget about that era where there were X-Men sets and Deadpool just showing up. I think because there was no Deadpool movie at that time, Deadpool was a little more malleable about what sort of character he was perceived as. And I think, you know, okay, well, this might, you know, the feeling was, all right, well, depending on what series, maybe Deadpool is kid appropriate, maybe he isn't. There's a little bit more of a question mark there. But now, thanks to the films, there's more of a solid footing that Deadpool, that this is, you know, an older fan thing, it's an adult thing, it's a teenager thing. And so you're seeing a reduction of Deadpool in different settings like Lego. Still, though, I would definitely buy sets containing Deadpool. And if you do an 18-plus set like this, then what's the concern, right? There is no concern, in my opinion. And I guarantee you that's the only way that Punisher was allowed in these sets. Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't have an inside track. Obviously. I am not, what do they call those people? A member of the Lego Ambassador Network. I am not a Lego ambassador. Could you imagine? Lego just sends you free sets, and all you gotta do is make a video about it. Those people have no idea how good they've got it. I can't, you know, and I have massive respect for the creators, like Jang, who, in my opinion, you know, he's the greatest in terms of YouTube content creators. He does not participate in that. He buys his sets. I have a lot of respect for that, but heck, if they want to send me a set, I'd take it. So much for respect, right? Send it to me, Lego. Send me sets. You keep me from going broke. Keep a roof over my head, Lego. It's your fault. You create these sets. You made me buy them. Shame on you. Shame on you. And it looks like these are little mini builds. They're kind of like ridges that we make and then we put around the building. So we take these guys and this. Okay. Oops. Do that 7 times. I wonder how many new Spider-Man fans are being produced by the PS4 game. It's kind of a shame to say, but I feel like the PS4 game had a better story and characterization than what I've seen even in the MCU Spider-Man movies. And don't get me wrong, I love Homecoming, especially. But just being honest, really loved what they did with the story in the game. You know, no spoilers or anything, but Spider-Man's impossible decision that he makes within the game is so indicative of the classic comics. It feels very much like Silver Age Spider-Man with that modern kind of edge to it, more consequences. I'm a little upset though about them switching out the facial actor for Spider-Man. It's a little weird. I don't know if we'll ever really know the true story behind why they changed Peter Parker's face. I have a feeling it's more complicated than what they're making it out to be. And you know, a lot of people just flat out accuse them of trying to find someone who looked like Tom Holland because of synergy. But if that was the case, why not just hire Tom Holland? That way you've got all the synergy you want. Could you imagine how restrictive that would be, though? You have the Spider-Man game and you want to have this villain and that villain and that villain in it. But then Marvel Studios is like, well, you can't do that because we have plans to introduce him in Spider-Man 18. So forget it. Talk about hampering you creatively. And then if Marvel Studios don't do that, then you would have a situation like in the old Spider-Man games that were based on the Raimi films and Amazing Spider-Man games too, where you were adding like all these villains and some of them would eventually show up in the movies and wouldn't be anything like the extra villains that you put in the game. That was weird. I remember particularly the bizarrety of the Kingpin showing up in the Spider-Man 3 game. Just thinking, what on earth? It seems like it wasn't particularly good either. Like that characterization. The voice acting was a little strange on that one. Okay. Looks like we're doing ridges at the top of the building now. Unfortunately, this is one of those steps I think that could get really confusing because so many of these ridge pieces look exactly the same. There's just a little bit of a length difference, so could get weird. It's okay, let's get a bird's eye view right up here so we can see what we're doing. Okay, stay. You know you want to. All right. We have a curve, corner, should I say. Corner. Yep, this is confusing. Okay, so let me try one of these and see if this is the size they want. Yep, that's the size. You may be thinking, well, there's no way that's confusing. Yeah, there's a bunch of these ridge pieces that look almost nearly identical. Slight differences in size. If you goof up, you goof up. Maybe they should make a version of Lego called high risk Lego. When you attach the piece, it's just permanent. It's a horrifying idea. Talk about some nervous people building. I'm already nervous enough when I'm applying stickers. I don't need that in my life. Okay, one more ridge, if I can find it. There it is. Okay, got that part done. All right, now we finally attach this to the larger Daily Bugle building. It's a big moment. The building is finally no longer a one-story building. It's a big event. I feel like Mickey and Minnie should be here. There's Bob Iger. I thought it would go the other way around. Nope. There we go. All right, get that satisfying modular kind of click there. Oops. Clicked it in the wrong spot. There we go. Let's go back. Ah, there we go. I'll tell you what I like. I could already tell when I took it off a second ago to fix that, that this truly isn't a problem to disassemble. Look at that. Comes right off. No issue. So you can break this down easily, like section by section. Okay. All right. So now I can finally give myself some more building room. We can go back down to this level. So that's nice at least. Let's go down even further. Yeah. I feel like it'll make my life a lot easier if I go ahead and sort these by length right now. And we're getting into some stuff where we're going to have to know which one is which. If I don't do this right now, I'm going to spend the whole time just searching for pieces awkwardly. And nobody wants that. Nobody probably even wants me to search for pieces competently, let alone awkwardly. Okay, have some sections going there. Great. Okay. All right. Okay, ready to rock. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Need a 3. See, it's already easier. There. I need a long one. Another long one. A 3 stud. The sorting paid off. Okay. So we have to do this 4 times, so I might as well. I don't like to wait, so I might as well just go ahead and do it all now. And there's 2. Three. And this will be our 4th. Okay. Now it's time for windows. You know, automatic update. I'm imagining that this is the front of the building. It's going to enclose the front part. 3, 4, 5. On the side of it, we have 4. 1. 2. 3. And 4. We got a couple of these guys at the top. Seeing all these windows together reminds me of the really funny aesthetic choice that was in the early 90s and late 80s, when in like some office buildings, and this is really prominent in the Flash TV show from 1990. Some of these office buildings would have these like just big clear panels in them. You'd also see the same thing at like salons, and old malls would sometimes have this. This is exactly what this reminds me of. Those big like clear kind of distorted squares that would section off parts of a building. It's a strange thing to be reminded of. Very prominent in salons, because I remember Mom and my sister going to the salons and getting their hair done at these places that had these crazy looking clear dividers. It's my mom's birthday today. Happy birthday, Mom. I'm sure she's very proud of her son doing a Lego live stream at 33. Mom's a toy collector too, though. She collects Barbies. So she gets it. No judgment from her. 2, 3, 4. It might be proof that toy collecting is a genetically inherited trait. And it almost has to be. Because I didn't learn Barbie collecting from my mom, but clearly I don't. But I guess you could argue that I just learned collecting as a thing and then applied it to my own interests. But I do think there's something genetic there. Collector's mentality. A lot of us end up on the Hoarders Buried Alive show. All right. That one looks good. And one more. Building the 1988 Lego hair salon. I'll be honest, I would totally buy weird, like, period sets like that if Lego would make them. Could you imagine? 1980s mall. Okay, I'll tell you what I'm really hoping for. I didn't buy the upside down set from Stranger Things. But I'm telling you right now that if they come out with a Starcourt Mall set, I'm buying it. I don't care how big it is. And to an extent, I don't care how expensive it is. You start getting into that $400 stuff. Yeah, I don't know about that. But seriously, if Lego in any form was to say, you know what, we are going to do just an 80s mall set. Yeah, I'm buying it. The thing is, I think they would be shocked at the kind of crossover appeal that a set like that would have. There would be people who never watched an episode of Stranger Things in their life would buy that set, as long as you made it fairly accurate to people's own memories of their experiences at the mall. All right. Oh, okay. So this that we made earlier will act as the cradle for all these window pieces. Makes sense now. At first I didn't know why I had assembled that. So leave a space between each window section. Easy. Got it. Got it. Okay. See what I'm talking about with like the weird 80s dividers that would be in buildings? 6. All right, now it's time for a ton of the suction cup pieces. More advanced AFOLs than I'm sure know all the proper names for these pieces. I don't, and I'm not sure I care. Not saying that to be a jerk, just saying that I just don't. I'm more like Ariel the Little Mermaid, calling things thingamabobs and gizmos and gadgets. Just calling them whatever springs to mind. You want thingamabobs? I got 20. 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I haven't laid eyes on the Sesame Street 18 plus directions booklet, so I don't know, maybe they already do this. But don't you think it would be a missed opportunity if the count wasn't the one, like little cartoon on the side, that was telling you how many times to build something? To me, that'd be a missed opportunity right there. If you don't have him laughing and telling you how many times. The coolest Lego instruction manuals are the ones for the Monkey Kid sets, because it's like a flip book. Monkey Kid is like running at the top and pointing stuff out to you and helping you build it as you go. There's some real imagination in those instruction manuals. So I actually think that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. 1, 2, 3. If you got that reference, then if you know, you know. Fit those in. J. Jonah Jameson stops people in the street to argue that his building has more suction cups on it than your building. He also stops to randomly yell at people and tell them that he needs pictures of Spider-Man. I think it's pretty well accepted that Spider-Man 3 isn't the most beloved of the Spider-Man films. But I will say one thing that saves over part of the really clunky finale to the movie is J. Jonah Jameson showing up in the crowd. That was like their ace in the hole to make that more bearable. To have him like stealing a kid's camera and then having to pay him for it. Whatever they do with J. Jonah Jameson, and, you know, thank God it's J.K. Simmons again in No Way Home. I don't know if they'll be able to match what Raimi did back in the day. But then again, Marvel Studios now has access to Raimi. Like, he's there. He's filming Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, so it's not like they can't go to him and be like, well, you know, what do you think? Surely he would help. You guys may have seen some of those crazy rumors that because Raimi is back on the scene, that maybe the idea is that Sony and Marvel, probably more Sony, wants him to finally do Spider-Man 4. I'll be honest, I almost feel like he has to. It's this thing that just won't go away. In a way, it's kind of like the Snyder Cut, that it just won't die. People won't stop talking about it until finally, one way or another, it just happens. I'll be honest, I would be first in line to watch it. I'm not sure there was anybody more heartbroken than me when they made the announcement that there would not be Spider-Man 4. I was counting on Spider-Man 4 to redeem the problems of Spider-Man 3. And that's coming from somebody who actually liked Spider-Man 3. I actually like it. But it did not end the trilogy, I think, in a satisfactory way. And unlike a lot of people who would be making that statement to say that that was because Spider-Man 3 was like an awful movie, that's not how I feel. I just feel that the story wasn't wrapped up. I couldn't leave it, you know. This is not like Back to the Future 3, okay? Or The Return of the King, or the Battle of the Five Armies. It's not that kind of third entry. And that's what kept me up at night, you know, thinking about, oh gosh, you know, they didn't really wrap it up. Really bothered me. Probably more than it should have. It's just a movie. But then again, to me, those Raimi Spider-Man films were a lot more than just movies. I almost feel like they had a Empire Strikes Back problem, though. When I say Empire Strikes Back problem, I mean Spider-Man 2 is art. It is one of the greatest superhero films ever made. And within the top 3 for me, easily. You know, and everybody's different. That's totally subjective. But what, you know, how do you ever come back to that? How do you ever get to a point to where it's good enough, or it's satisfactory, or it's, you know, I don't even see how it's possible to ever get back there. But you never know. Maybe there's a way. It could be like a situation where I remember thinking, man, they'd be crazy to do another Toy Story film after Toy Story 3. In a way, I still think it's crazy that they did another one. And I didn't even bother seeing Toy Story 4 in the theater. Finally watched it on Disney Plus and realized that it was great. They had a wonderful idea for Toy Story 4, so much so that I can see why somebody looked at that and they said, well, maybe we weren't going to do it before, but now we have to do it, because that was a story that deserved to be told. And God bless them for coming up with it. One of the more mature stories, I think that's... When I say mature, I don't mean content. That would be ridiculous. Woody learns curse words. Toy Story 5, kids. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is the thematic, the emotional content of that story was more mature and grown up. And, you know, and that's what Pixar is good at. It's not like they haven't tread those waters before, but, you know, and Toy Story 3 had that same kind of content in a way, but I feel like the themes that they were dealing with in 3 were very mature, but the execution still felt, you know, like a very traditional sequel to Toy Story 2, which is fine, because that was the tone. But there's so much time had passed between Toy Story 3 and Toy Story 4 that I feel like that was why they were afforded a disconnect with how they handled some things, and some things were a lot more grown up. And I think they did a good job. I really do. But that's enough about Toy Story during a Spider-Man themed Lego live stream. Still, I love it. I think they made the right calls. Some people didn't like the ending. I felt like it was the only ending. As a matter of fact, when I thought the ending was going to go the other way, and if you know, you know, I was getting very upset, thinking that it was going to go the other way. See, I'm such a sap. I think love conquers all in movies. And if I feel like the characters aren't true to that, then I feel like it's a sham. It's kind of why I don't care for the way that Spider-Man 3 ends, to bring it back to Spider-Man here. Because I feel that it's too bittersweet about Peter and Mary Jane. It doesn't end in a satisfactory place for me. I feel like that at the end of the day, it should be them. And I credit the Raimi films with making me care more about Mary Jane. Because I'll be honest, I was always kind of a snob about Mary Jane. It was always more like, well, you know, they shouldn't have ever killed Gwen Stacy in the first place. Gwen Stacy, that's where it's at. I was one of those guys. But the Raimi films, I think, gave Mary Jane a lot more presence, and I credit Kirsten Dunst, of course. And just made her more three-dimensional. It made me understand the need for the character. And honestly, I feel like that the Amazing Spider-Man films did a heck of a job about Gwen Stacy. Even the second one, that awful second one. Ugh. At least Gwen Stacy was good. There's no arguing about that, I don't think. I mean, I suppose there is, but Gwen Stacy was, I think, helped make parts of those Amazing Spider-Man movies. I think she really sold those. That character was very well done, well conceived. And Andrew Garfield was a great Peter Parker, great Spider-Man. I think some people, have referred to him as a hipster, and then they add an unpleasant word. And look, guys, that has nothing to do with his performance. It has everything to do with what the directors wanted, with what they were after. That's what that had to do with. That's, you know, they styled his hair a certain way, and a lot of people didn't like that. That's not what it's about. It's about the performance, and Andrew Garfield loved Spider-Man, and I think he did an honest performance. Honestly, I think they did a great job finding somebody who had a lot of the good qualities of Tobey and was willing to do his own thing. Of course, in my personal opinion, they should have just done Spider-Man 4. And then Andrew Garfield could have done it later, you know, after the Raimi films were wrapped up. You know what's funny, though? I don't think that Hollywood's thinking at the time was about number 4s. As a matter of fact, I remember being shocked that they even did a 4th Pirates of the Caribbean film when they did it. Caribbean? I don't know. No one knows. There's no correct answer. I think Hollywood is continually just about trilogies. Anna Sarnoff, the corporate, I don't know if she's the CEO or what she is at Warner Media. She kept trying to pass off Zack Snyder's movies as just a trilogy that was completed, which we all know is dumb. That is not. It is not completed. It's stupid. What a lark. Zack Snyder is not done with those movies. running into kind of a problem here. What am I doing wrong? This goes up here. This goes flush. Turn it over. I place these wrong. There we go. That must be it. I don't know what I was doing wrong earlier. All good now, though. Osborne. Hate to do it, but I think I'm going to have to recenter the Osborne for Mayor sticker. For some reason, it's not quite as close as it needs to be. I'm going to show you all a trick for removing stickers the safest possible way that you can with a Lego set. You may find this to be helpful. I discovered it out of necessity, which is, of course, the mother of all invention, when I didn't have anything around that was thin enough to get stickers off. I'll show you what it is. Take this, your wax sticker sheet, and use that to dig under stickers, and you'll be amazed that it actually gets the sticker off without ruining it, without bending part of it. It comes in handy in a pinch, let me tell you. It's been something I've done for years. I guess there's something about how thin the wax paper is. You know, anybody who cooks with the stuff can tell you all about it, of course. I think that it's thin enough to where it just goes right under without making much of a fuss. Sorry for the dead time on screen here. I have discovered that if I don't do the stickers off camera, then there's a price to pay when I have to stare at it into eternity. Not eternity, but for the rest of the time that that set stays on the shelf, you gotta deal with it. So I might as well do it right at the cost of a fun building experience. Okay. Oh yeah, that's so much better. Boat Osborne. I will say that in the PS4 game, Norman looked like a certain famous or infamous, depending on your feelings, politician that is known well to Americans. And I have no idea if it was intentional. It almost feels like it had to have been intentional, doesn't it? And I have no idea what they're trying to say with that. Well, okay, I guess I know what they're trying to say. But we don't. It's like what Black Panther said about Wakanda when they tried to bow to him. Here at Fanboys Forever, we don't do that here. We don't talk about that. Politics, no thank you. All right, so this just goes here. And this is going to be interesting. Is this just supposed to be held on with like friction? Is that it? Let's see. Maybe if I look to the side, I can get a better idea of what I'm doing here. Oh, I see. Okay. So there's actually just 2 studs that you plug this into at the bottom, like a base. Okay, I didn't see that. I was too busy talking about Norman Osborn's likeness. His questionable likeness. Okay. Yeah, that actually works pretty well. Yeah. Yeah, it's actually pretty nice. Okay. So what we've, let me just make sure it's on there the right way. So what we walked away with is a 2-story Daily Bugle now. Looks pretty cool. Let me get my supports out from under. And it's I'm very satisfied with the modularity too. That everything can come apart pretty decently. Yeah, this is really nice so far. I'm liking the big Jumbotron on the front. Looks nice. Sticker application, mercifully, thank God, went pretty well. So I'm actually satisfied with that. Definitely satisfied with the black cat. We'll put her over here. Definitely satisfied with that bag. That really brought things together. It's one of those satisfying bags to definitely that you put together. It kind of just is like a cake topper. It just finishes some things off. Yeah, I'm actually starting to feel like it's really coming together now. I guess that was the halfway point of the build, because I think, let me look, yeah, I think there's 16 bags. So that was the conclusion of bag 8. Some good things to note. There's not many stickers left. Here's a little sheet. Here's the big sheet. So I'm glad. But yeah, everything looks good. Made it to the halfway point. Looks like this is going to be probably a 10-part series or so. So looking forward to that. Thank you all for sticking with me so far. Building looks really nice. Already have a lot of verticality, and we are not even done. So you guys take care and have a great day. See you later.